Hey everybody, hope you're all doing good today. It's time for next YouTube installment here, based upon some of the comments I've been getting from my subscribers. And the last question I got this past week, which I thought was really good, is I had one of my subscribers wanting to know what's the best way to catch the biggest bass of your life. If you want to go out and try to catch, your own personal best, what's the best way to do it? And the time of year. And right now is one of the best times of the year to catch a really big bass. The pre-spawn period of the year, and right as it gets closer to the spawn, is sometimes the best time of year to catch big bass. And the key to catching big bass is, the areas that you fish, the lakes that you fish really need to be known to have quality fish in it. Because if you fish lakes that are really not known for trophy fish, your odds of catching a big one are not near as good as if you fish those lakes that are known for really big fish. And on top of that, you've got to fish the areas that produce those big fish and the lures that produce those big fish. And pretty much so that as far as the areas that go, during the pre-spawn of the year, you want to stay in and around those spawning areas that have access to deep water. Secondary points, but the back ends of cuts, not all the way back in it, but leading back into the back of those cuts, like in the guts of them, sometimes are really good lures, or really good places to catch them. But the big key is the lures you use. If you want to catch a big bass, you have to fish for those big bass with the lures. And there's two lures that you want to use. And the first one I want to show you. You want to hand me that, Elliot? This is the Megabass 10-inch mag draft. It's a 10-inch long swim bait. A lot of people have fished the 6-inch version, which is a great lure for really quality good fish. But the 10-inch version is truly a big bass lure. It's got a big thump and tail on it. It's got a big profile, and it offers a meal for a truly trophy bass. And one of the keys that you want to fish on this particular thing is how you want to fish it. You need to fish it on at least a heavy action flipping stick, or specifically, heavier, even heavier action rods that are made specifically for swim baits. Because as heavy as this lure is, you can't really even handle it, even on a 7.5 foot flipping stick. But I'll fish it, on just a super heavy action Megabass flipping stick. That's my personal preference for it. Or they make one called a Warhammer, which is a really, really stiff action Megabass rod. 25-pound test, Seaguar and Vizex line, and you're lobbing this sucker with two hands. And the key to catching fish on this thing is you got to stay with it, because when you throw this thing all day long, in the prime periods of the year, you're not fishing for lots of bites. You're fishing for quality fish. And you'll also notice that you're going to get a lot of followers by big bass on this thing, where they'll track it from behind and not get it. There's two different ways that sometimes you can catch those fish. If you see a fish tracking your big swim bait, you always want to speed that bait up. And what that does is you can't have the fish get too good of a look at it. By speeding it up when they're tracking it, they have to make that commitment either to go for it or to leave it alone. And also, if you have fish come up and fall and turn away from it, you can throw like a wacky rig in it and sometimes catch it. But I like to throw it out there. As soon as it hits the water, I'll just begin like a real slow to medium retrieve, straight back to the boat. Occasionally I'll give it a twitch, but the main thing is just keep it in your hand. Okay, next bait we have here, what do we got, Elliot?
The big one, and it's plastic.
Yeah, this is a hard plastic. This is the Megabass 262 glide bait. And here again, this is a really big bait, heavy bait, designed for big fish. One of the Megabass pro staffers, Oliver Nye, has caught tons of really giant bass on this, and he's the true expert on it. And I've had a chance to talk with Oliver about this bait a little bit. And one of the things on this bait is the same thing as like the 10-inch mag draft. It's making that commitment to it, putting it in your hand, throwing it all day long, not taking it out, fishing in and around those same type of pre-spawn areas. Again, I'm using the Warhammer Megabass rod on this thing, 25-pound test line. And the difference on the glide bait versus the Megabass mag draft is I'll fish this. I'll fish the 262 almost like a jerk bait. You can get that slow S wave just by reeling it straight in, but I like to give it soft twitches just like that with a rod tip. and that gets that bait. It goes to one side and over to the other and back like that. And sometimes it'll even like back up a little bit. But you know, the same thing with the glide bait. You're going to get big followers on it. You're going to get.
This is the glide bait.
Yeah, this is the glide bait. That's the swim bait. So that's what keeps you interested in this thing, is the size of the bass that really follow this thing. Condition wise, the best days are it's always a better bite up during the middle of the day. You'll find that period like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, you know, you get the most bites. And your days that have like nasty, windy, overcast days, rainy days, are sometimes the best, particularly if you got clear water. But anyway, to answer your question of the subscriber, if you want to catch your trophy bass of a lifetime, you got to fish for them. You got to make that commitment to it, and try the 262 Megabass glide bait and the 10-inch mag draft, and stay with it all day long, and it'll give yourself a really good odds of catching it. So anyway, thanks again for subscribing. Appreciate everyone that does it, and Ellie and I are just out here playing in the yard today, and we're going to get back on it, and hope you all are doing good. See you.
And we'll do our next video today.
Okay, see you.